Recent reports suggest that the US-Israel attack on Iran seems to be working in Iran's favor. Shutting the Strait of Hormuz to the rest of the world and using it to export only its oil has likely earned Iran hundreds of millions of dollars of extra income from oil sales since the start of the war. The Islamic Republic is benefiting twofold from price moves since the start of the war. Its flagship crude grade is selling to customers, mostly in China, at the slimmest discount in more than 10 months to Brent, and the international benchmark itself has surged above $100 a barrel since the bombing began. Based on export estimates from tankertrackers.com and the prices for the country's flagship grade Iranian light, Tehran would have earned about $139 million a day from sales of its main Iranian light crude blend so far in March, up from $115 million in February. In fact, Iran's exports are estimated to have remained close to pre-war levels of about 1.6 million barrels a day this month. Iran's oil has grown more valuable compared with the international benchmark Brent, narrowing to a discount of $2.10 a barrel at the start of this week, the smallest in almost a year. The differential was wider than $10 before the war. Ships carrying Iranian crude continued to load at the Karg Island terminal and exit the Persian Gulf through the Strait of Hormuz, with activity gaining pace recently. The financial lifeline allows Iran to continue to stay and fight in the war. Tehran stands to gain even further after Washington, seeking to mitigate the war's impact on oil prices, took the surprising step of temporarily suspending sanctions on a trove of Iranian oil that was already at sea in tankers. As countries like Iraq and Kuwait have been forced to sharply cut production, and the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia scrambling to use alternative export routes, Iran has continued to load tankers and sail them out of the Persian Gulf. From March 1st to 23rd, Iran exported almost 1.6 million barrels a day on average, close to pre-war levels according to tankertrackers.com. Even before the war started on February 28th, the country's shipments were unusually high, with February loadings at the highest level since around July 2018. Oil infrastructure at Iran's main export hub, Karg Island, has been spared by the US, which only hit military targets there. Satellite photos from the European Union's Copernicus browser from between March 2nd and March 22nd show very large crude carriers moored at the terminal on each occasion. And the activity appears to be gaining pace. An image from March 2nd shows a single supertanker moored at Karg, while pictures from March 7th and 17th show two of the vessels taking on cargoes. The most recent picture from Sunday shows two VLCCs moored and a third that appears to have recently left the terminal. Iran has also shipped crude from its Jask terminal, which is beyond the Hormuz choke point. A satellite image from the March 5th show a supertanker approaching the loading buoy at the terminal. A second image captured 3 days later shows that the same ship moored at the buoy. Crude shipments from Jask are usually infrequent, with only 5 ships loading there since the terminal was officially opened in 2021. Iran is also bringing in extra income by charging transit fees of as much as $2 million on some commercial ships crossing the strait. That's in stark contrast to the effective blockade imposed on shipments from other Gulf producers. The oil export earnings of other Persian Gulf nations have suffered considerably through the war. Costly strikes have hit a range of energy assets, from oil and gas fields to refineries and ports. Billions of dollars of damage was inflicted on Qatar's Ras Laffan facility, the world's largest liquefied natural gas export hub, curtailing production for years. Iran's energy infrastructure has largely escaped attack during the war, with the exception of Israeli airstrikes on the massive South Pars gas field last week. That drew retaliatory attacks by the Islamic Republic on Gulf Arab oil and gas assets. Over the weekend, President Donald Trump threatened to target Iran's energy infrastructure if it did not reopen the Strait of Hormuz. On Monday, he wrote back, citing very good and productive conversations with Tehran on an end to the war.